Welcome to the Rockabye Revenue Podcast with me, Abby Watson. I'm a mum of 4 and a business strategist, and I train people to become hypnobirthing teachers. In the last decade, I've built a thriving baby business that grew beyond my wildest dreams. This podcast is for you if you run a business or dream of running a business in the birth and baby industry. You want to change lives whilst making more money. I'm talking about creating sustainable income whilst being present for the people that matter most. I believe for our baby businesses to have the impact we desire, we must be rewarded. On this podcast, expect me to share actionable strategies without the jargon. I've been where you are. I've built a business while raising 4 little ones, and now I'm here to help you turn your passion into profit while creating the life you've always dreamed of. So let's get started. Hello, lovely one. How are you doing? I am here recording this episode after a blooming disaster of a holiday. Let me just say, I am glad to be at home. And you know what? Nothing that bad happened, but I just wanted to be at home. I did. And you know, we had some really lovely moments. We did. It wasn't all misery, but you know, I'm just grateful to be at home. So, yeah, let me tell you firstly about some of the disasters that we had on holidays. So, we went to Loch Ness. I have always wanted to go to Loch Ness. I have always been fascinated by the whole, legend of the monster and just, the magic around it all. So, I've always wanted to go. I am someone who loves coziness and vintage and all that kind of thing. So the thought of going to Scotland and going to pubs with tartan set my heart on fire. So I booked us this gorgeous lodge that would overlook Loch Ness itself, so it had a beautiful view. It was very traditional inside, lots of wood, tartan, and it had its own hot tub. It had its own sauna as well, so it was, going to be this lovely place. I mean, these days, I feel very much like if I am going away, I want to pay extra to stay somewhere nice. In the past, I wasn't that bothered, but since having kids, I'm like, I am going to be in this place a lot. I need it to be nice. In the past when it was just me and Adam, where you were staying was just your base. But these days, we spend a lot of time in the place that we're staying, and I need it to feel nice. I do. I do not want to cringe at gross things, and I just want it to feel nice. So I had paid extra for this place to feel very luxurious and be very pretty. So that's where we were going, and that's where we went. And on the Monday we were setting off, we were really organised, and that's not like me at all. We had loaded the car up the night before, and we just had to throw a few bits in the car, and we were getting off at about 9 o'clock in the morning after rush hour, and we knew it was going to take us about 7.5 hours of driving, adding on some time for a break, some lunch. So, let's say it was going to take us about 9 hours, all being well. So, we were planning to get there about 6 p.m, which sounded great. So we couldn't believe it. 8:30, we're ready to go. Half an hour earlier. What was going on? So on a Monday, my lovely cleaner Karen comes every Monday and does an amazing job of the house, and she was coming that morning, and as she walked in, we were like, we're going on holiday. So we straight away got in the car, and oh my gosh, my son really struggles with going places. Sometimes he's absolutely fine, but other times it triggers huge anxiety. And, this is one of the reasons that he's not been in school for a while. For context, he has got additional needs. He's autistic, he has speech and language problems, and he does, as a result, struggle a lot with anxiety. And he really had this huge meltdown and, couldn't get in the car, was scaring all the other kids, was hitting, was hurting himself. Me and Adam were nearly crying. The other kids were crying. And we'd been there trying to get him in for about an hour. And I could see Karen looking out, like thinking, why are they not going? And then kind of seeing what was going on. We then got the other kids out of the car, told them to go watch telly. They were upset. We were hugging them. We were upset. And quite honestly, we did not know what to do. We did not know what to do about this holiday because it felt absolutely impossible that we were going to get to go. This continued for another 2 hours. Eventually, we did manage to calm him and he got into the car and we were able to set off. But this was now 12 o'clock. We were all hungry. We needed lunch, so we could just drive an hour and then stop for lunch. Now, that in itself was so upsetting and stressful, and the feeling of not knowing what to do, the feeling of your child being distressed, the feeling of your other children being distressed was just awful. But as well, I was sat there just thinking how are we going to have a good holiday? How are we going to move past this? Not that at all that I had any resentment for my son at all. He couldn't help his feelings and his behaviour. He couldn't help that. He was in extreme distress. But feeling like we were now leaving home and going somewhere new just was awful. And obviously, in my mind, I was thinking, oh my gosh, what is this going to mean for the future? Are we ever going to be able to go on holiday again? What's this going to mean for day trips? And, totally catastrophizing about everything. How are we going to find him a new school? If he will even go on holiday, how's he going to go to school? Just my mind was just on overdrive and I felt deeply sad. But of course, inside, I was thinking, have a good holiday, have a good holiday, have a good holiday, make it a good holiday for the kids, make magical memories, don't disappoint the kids and be strong for Adam because he'd really been affected by the morning. I'd almost disconnected. It was really, really hard. But we set off and, we got to Nando's. So we'd stopped at Bolton, which was about an hour on the journey. We went to Nando's and the restaurant was just so busy. We'd not expected it to be that busy, but oh my gosh, there was so many big groups of people. It was so noisy. So the kids, my children, do not deal with noise well. I do not deal with noise well. It was stressful, but there I was trying to smile because I wanted everybody to be calm for the next leg of the journey. The journey then went on and on and on. We hit lots of traffic. It was frustrating. And then about 2 hours away from our destination, the clutch on the car started being dodgy. Every time, and Adam was driving, every time he had to change gear, it took ages to get it back into gear, so the car would stall. And literally at this point we were in the Highlands, and I mean, we are used to rural roads, we live pretty rurally, but this was rural beyond anything I'd experienced. Literally, you could be driving an hour and not see another car passing. So yeah, it was so anxiety inducing after being so blooming stressed earlier. Just feeling oh my gosh, this car might break down. And if it does, we are literally in the middle of nowhere. So yes, that was very stressful. Also, we had an online shop arriving that was going to provide not all our food, but lots of food for our holiday. And yes, it was looking like we were going to miss that. So I rang Asda and was like, we're not going to be there. They were like, okay, we'll cancel that for you. We can't reschedule it. So you'll have to just book it in again. So we cancelled that. Then the blooming delivery driver rang saying, oh, where are you? And we weren't there. Oh, it was just, stressful. Finally, we arrived at our lovely lodge at 11 o'clock. Kids had kind of napped throughout the day, so they weren't asleep. We had to detour to a supermarket to get something to eat because we were relying on this online shop. Obviously, we'd stopped for snacks and things, but we were relying on this shop to, feed us. So we had to take an extra detour with this dodgy clutch. And honestly, inside was a wreck by the time we got there. Really was. We had something to eat and we went to bed. And the next day we had to call the AA. And honestly, inside, I just wanted to go home. I felt like I didn't have the strength for this holiday. I couldn't appreciate it, even though the place was beautiful. Inside, I was just crying. I really was. I was, I was researching things for my son, which I know I shouldn't have done, but that's what I do. So it was a really crappy start. We couldn't go anywhere on that first day because we had to get the car fixed. And then the second day we went places. But again, I just wasn't feeling it. And I know my husband wasn't. The kids were hard work. Like the level of arguments, like they would literally argue over a colour of a stone. One of them thought it was grey, the other thought it was more black. And literally they would argue and tell me how annoying the other person was. Literally, it was just torture. It really was. And again, like I tried to have these like magical moments because, we'd look back on this holiday forever, but I just wanted to go home. My kids are really hard work on holiday, and it makes me really like appreciate our home because we do have quite a big house, and that blooming helps when your kids like to wind each other up and your kids like their routine. And hopefully I've painted the picture that this was a very stressful holiday and I wanted to come home, and I don't ever want to go on holiday again. I never, ever want to go on holiday again. And I know we will go on holiday again. But I cannot think of anything worse than another holiday. This is odd, isn't it? Like, not many people say this. Most people live for their holidays, don't they? Most people dream of taking their children on many, many, many holidays. And I will openly admit, I am not that person. I am a homebody. I like being at home. I like my home comforts, and I appreciate how much easier my children are. And they're not easy at home, let me tell you, but they are easier at home. So I don't like holidays. I don't. And it feels almost controversial to say it. But this gets me thinking, like, how often do we decide what we should want based on what everybody else wants? We set our goals on the goals everybody else strives for. And this is in life, but it's also in business, As a parent, everyone tells me I should be making magical memories and that I would never regret spending money on a holiday. I blooming do. They tell me what I should enjoy. And the same goes for business too. So today's podcast is absolutely about that. Like, what do you really want from your business? What is really important to you in your business? Not what everybody else seems to be having and celebrating, but what is actually important to you? Quick pause before we get back in to tell you that if you are currently thinking about becoming a hypnobirthing teacher, I have the opportunity for you. Starting on the 22nd of September, I'm going to be running a free training called Could You Be a Hypnobirthing Teacher, where you'll get the opportunity to learn in-demand skills to give you a strong foundation ready if you decide to take the plunge to be a hypnobirthing teacher. And guess what? It's completely free. It's over 3 days for an hour each day, all online. And don't worry, if you miss it, you'll be sent the recording. So sign up. The link is in the show notes and I can't wait to see you there. This is something that I have learned in my business. Certainly when my business grew, as it became a training school, and I'd be in many circles where people were chasing financial goals and, I'd almost get the bug for that and be like, yeah, I want to double that and I want to do this. And actually, right now, financial growth is not my priority. My priority is having this business of freedom, that is very semi-passive. What do you want in your business? Because maybe there's times where, you offer one-to-one services and you're like, no, I want to be having a room full of people. I want to be having thriving group courses and I want those group courses to be twice a month, and you go for that goal. And maybe when you're striving for that goal and maybe even when you achieve that goal, you're a bit like, didn't enjoy that much. But it almost feels shameful to say that because people would love to be in your position and having those full courses, right? But it's okay. It's totally okay if you prefer the intimacy of those one-on-one client relationships as opposed to the hustle and bustle of a group. Maybe you see other business owners creating these online courses and they're telling you that they're loving working passively. They've created this video course and now they're able to just sell and sell and sell the same thing. And you're like, oh my gosh, that sounds fantastic. But then you actually do it and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't actually get to meet my clients now. I don't like this, So what I'm saying is, do not take other people's goals as your own. Really take this moment to think, what is important to me? What works for my life, my season, what is going on, Because other people are different to you. It's no surprise, is it? Like, other people are different. We all have different likes. We all have different desires. And they also have different lifestyles to you too. For some people, going back to my example of loving holidays, some people, have kids that are better behaved on holiday, that love holidays and they love spontaneity. That is not my children. It's not me. And it's certainly not the season of life that I am in right now. So think about that in terms of your business too. And yes, it's okay to cheer someone on in their business for achieving their goals and feel that almost bit of like, oh, wow, I feel almost like envious. But knowing I'm okay to miss out on that. What's that saying? Not saying, like that acronym, Joya, yeah? No, it's not Joya. Jomo, the joy of missing out. Have the joy of missing out on that goal that person is striving for, because that's not what you want. What is it that you want? You went into business to impact people, yeah? To make a difference, yeah? And also to be able to run it on your terms, to do it your way, to have freedom. So as I say that, remember that. Remember that you get to choose. You get to decide what's right for you. And don't get me wrong, I have made mistakes like this in the past myself. You know, like in my business, you know, I went through a phase where I was heavily promoting one-on-one work, you know, coaching other business owners, because that seemed to be what other people did. You know, they had these thriving training schools, and then they wanted to teach other people how to do it, and they did it in a one-on-one format, and they'd have this great in-person day together, and then they'd work with these people for months on end. And, you know, I was like, oh, I want to do that too. And I did it. And don't get me wrong, I loved the women that I worked with, and I got some joy out of that. And it wasn't for me. It wasn't for me. It's not actually, I don't feel my genius zone. I'm a teacher. I'm not a coach. I'm a teacher. I am not a coach. I'm a blooming good trainer. I'm good at teaching people about business, but I don't want to do one-on-one work. I don't. So I absolutely have JOMO, you know, joy of missing out on that, you know? But it's tempting when I see people like, you know, earning lots of money, doing something that sounds pretty easy, but it's not for me. It's not the goal that I want. So think about your own business now as we reach the end of this episode. Think about your own business and what you are currently reaching for and aspiring to have. Is that your goal? Or actually have you borrowed it from someone else? And if you have, that's okay. But is it really what you want? The way that social media is these days, like, isn't it easy to see from the outside the perfection and think, oh, I want a bit of that, you know? I do that with holidays. I look at everyone's holiday photos and the kids on the beach, and I imagine my kids doing the same. And I'm like, oh, that sounds absolutely magical. I want a holiday like that. This experience has made me think, do I really? Do I really? Because, of course, social media only shows us the highlights. Yeah? It only shows us the highlights. If you look at my holiday pictures from Loch Ness, they look bloody gorgeous. I look at them and I'm like, oh, it wasn't so bad after all. It was. It was. It was horrible. I wanted to come home. But of course we don't take pictures of that, do we? But this applies to business too. You know, you look at somebody else's social media account and you see what they're doing and all the highlights of that, and you're like, I want that too. Stop and take a moment and think of the bigger picture. We don't see the other parts that have come along with that. We don't see the journey it took them to get there. We don't see the nights that they were crying over, I don't know, thinking they weren't going to get the bookings, you know? So be very careful what you are striving for. Strive and aim high, absolutely. But make sure it's your goal and not somebody else's. Make sure that what you are aiming for is exactly what you want, not just what everybody else has told you should be going for next. This is your life, it's your business, and you get to decide what you want. And I tell you what, when you really tune into what you want rather than what everybody else has told you that you want, you are going to go for it so much more because you're lit up by it. It's actually what you want. So that was what I wanted to talk about today. And yeah, a bit of reality behind my lovely Loch Ness photos. And, you know, please hear me when I say Loch Ness is a gorgeous place. Please go. You'll love it. Well, I don't know if you will. It's nothing against Loch Ness. I think think it's a gorgeous, wonderful place. But yeah, I'm just not into holiday. Just not. I'm not. And maybe, child-free night or two away might be great. But yeah, I'm not into family holidays right now. We love our day trips. We do. We love our day trips and we're going to stick to them, and we're not going to be peer pressured into some gorgeous holidays. You enjoy your holidays. I'm not. So, yes, this podcast episode has been all about focusing on what you want and not getting swept away by thinking everybody else is doing it better. And what they're wanting, you have to want. I am in no doubt that some people love their holidays. They do. Some people probably hate being at home for a long time. That's okay. We're all different. So what I strive for can be different from somebody else, and that's okay. And that's okay for you too in your business. So, as always, I would love to know what you have taken away from today's episode. Now, next week, I have got a juicy one for you. I am going to be talking to you about how you can have wild success starting something new. So when you're starting something new, I don't believe that you have to play small and you can't have incredible results straight away. And I'm going to show you how. And even if you listen to this podcast as a very established business owner, this is so relevant to you as well, because maybe you want to relaunch your business or reintroduce something or start something new. And all these tips that I am going to be giving you next week are going to be helping you do that. So I shall see you next time. Take care and keep on changing lives. And remember, stick to your own goals, not everybody else's. Have a great day. Bye. Thank you for listening to Rockabye Revenue. I hope this episode has left you with some fresh ideas and bundles of motivation. If you enjoyed this episode, do make sure you click subscribe so you never miss an installment. And if you found this episode useful, I'd love you forever if you leave a 5-star review, helping this podcast reach the ears of more of the helpers in this world.